Washington teams don't win in the playoffs.
Telling LSU.
Wow.
Their schedule.
Michigan coming in number 4.
Oh, so many bad takes. Joe Burrow is just Jake Coker with legs.
No.
I've got to make the right predictions this year. Good pocket protection. Look at that. The Chief. Gotta keep studying Astros film. Gotta be Thomas. Take that, Utah. Never gonna miss a pick again. Come on, man. Gotta make better picks. Gotta make better bets. Gotta make the right take. Bama's coming back. Bama's coming back. Gotta make the right predictions.
Daniel.
What are you doing here so early?
I slept great.
I'm gonna go. I mean, dark horse, right? You can't choose
Dark
the Dodgers.
horse.
You can't choose the Astros. You
Yep.
can't choose the Yankees. Dude, the Natties, man.
The kick in, here it comes. Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W.
Hello and welcome in to the 1-0.
Missed you, and we've missed a lot.
A lot of
in
stuff.
the month that we left, so much has happened in the sports world. We're going to get you caught up a little bit. If for some reason you only get your sports news with us, we're going to give you everything you need to know now.
We're going to start off with the national championship game. You know, we finally had at least one good semifinals game. LSU blew out Oklahoma. Clemson and Ohio State was close. There were some questionable calls. But the national championship game, battle of the Tigers, battle of who gets to call Death Valley, and LSU, they capped off the year as best as they could have.
I mean, we debated on this
Yep.
week after week. I refused to put LSU in my top 4 until they beat Alabama. I called Joe Burrow, Jake Coker with legs.
Yes,
that was
you
the
did.
most regrettable time of my life. I don't know what my Colts can do to trade up for the #1 pick, but anything they can do, I am down. Joe Burrow, one of the most insane years of college football.
Unreal.
60 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 12 touchdowns in 2 games in the playoff. I think that's more than any Big Ten team combined. Yeah, you can't say enough about LSU.
Yeah, and I mean, I was in the same boat of at the beginning of the year doubting how good is this Joe Burrow guy. You know, he's at LSU. LSU doesn't have good quarterbacks. I said that. There's no words to describe what a season he had, and the way that he finished the national championship game, just lighting up the stage, MVP of the game.
Yeah.
Some of those throws he made downfield.
Yeah, he left no doubt. What was interesting, though, is that all of a sudden Texas became like an AP top 10 team because they were saying, wow, they had wins over so-and-so, so-and-so, and Texas.
Texas.
Them. So, I mean, I think
Sam Ellinger made the graphic of LSU taking down quarterbacks. All I'm saying, Kellen Mond didn't make the graphic.
Yeah.
So.
All right, somebody else was stealing the show then.
Yeah, he was.
Odell Beckham Jr., former receiver for the Giants, had that incredible catch.
And Tigers.
He's still
describe just a guy that it was like you could tell that he just wished that he could be on the team and could have won a national championship.
I mean,
And to that extent, you can kind of understand it. But the handing out cash was kind of funny, but it was the fact that the entire post-game speech that Coach O was saying, he keeps interrupting. He slaps the police officer on the butt. I don't know what was going through his head, but he clearly wasn't maybe in the right state of mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, handing out the cash, I don't know if we're going to get to the bottom of whether that cash was real or if it wasn't. But
LSU is now saying it's real.
That was odd.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
And I love Joe Burrow going on Pardon My Take the next day. He's like, I graduated. I'm not a student athlete.
That's true. I don't know. A lot happened that night.
A lot happened that night.
I feel like
or, as they're now being called, the Houston Asterix.
Ooh.
Officially caught cheating by the MLB. MLB handed down punishments. Both the manager and A.J. Hinch, the GM, Jeff Lunau, suspended. Hinch was fired. They were given the maximum $5 million fine and 2 of the draft picks. First 2 rounds for this coming year and next year taken away.
I mean, what can you say? I mean, using the trash cans, using electronic buzzers.
Yep.
It's ridiculous, and I don't think there's anything like it in any other sort of sport. I mean, football, I guess you could know what type of play was coming up.
Right.
Would be the only.
The closest thing we've had is what the Patriots have done with videotaping.
Yeah.
But nothing of the level of.
I mean, you couldn't do it in basketball.
No.
No, I mean, like, you could know what plays Giannis is going to run, and he's still putting up 30 and 10 on you every night. It does not matter.
No.
But, I mean, I think they should be stripped of their titles.
I agree, but that's just that is me strictly. That's my non-Houston bias.
Yeah.
I don't actually think it, but my anti-Houston bias says take away the titles. The other thing, Robert, you brought up the buzzers, and this is probably a little less factual based as the trash cans, but. About a week or 2 ago on Twitter, someone noticed there was a little pinch in Jose Altuve's jersey. You can see here he hit the walk-off home run against the Yankees to win the series. Daniel Shih not happy about that. He's coming on a little bit. But as you could see here, he's saying, don't tear off my jersey.
And then there was somebody, I saw the tweet where they were referencing a game.
And you can
earlier
see
in the
it right
season.
there.
Yeah, they were referencing a game earlier in the season where they tore off his jersey and he didn't like it. So now he's saying that.
Now what he said his wife's, he's shy and his wife didn't want him to have his shirt taken off. That's a lame. That's just a weird excuse.
That's a weird excuse.
That's like something that pops in your head when you're trying to cover up for a lie.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he could have just been like, I didn't want them to take my shirt off.
Yeah. Now the thing is, I have seen a picture of like 10 other MLB players with like the buzzer.
Yeah.
My first thought was like maybe it's something to track their health. But if it was, wouldn't you think that the Astros would come out and be like, oh yeah, they're player trackers. We have one everybody.
Especially when you're like under fire like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you.
We'll see what happens there, but until then, we're a strip the title from the Astros
All right.
show.
Let's do it. All right, we're back to football, but this time professional in the NFL.
Yep.
We're now down to the Super Bowl, but how we got there, the AFC Championship and NFC Championship games. I mean, what can you say about the Tennessee Titans? What a run they made.
Incredible
to
run.
the AFC title game, but then you saw the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Looked pretty much unstoppable. They went down 24-0 to the Texans. We'll talk about that a little later. It just looks like there's nothing that anybody can do to
They
stop
feel
them.
like a team of destiny. And you know, when Patrick Mahomes went down this season, and everybody was talking about the last time the Chiefs won the title was when their star quarterback got hurt. And then for the Patriots to lose in the first round, for them to be facing the 6th seed Titans in the AFC Championship game, for the defense to finally be clicking, for Patrick Mahomes to look back to 100%. We'll talk about the 49ers in a second, but right now the Chiefs are rolling, and I don't know if anybody can stop them.
And Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now.
Right now.
When that run, I think we showed
Oh
it
my
there.
gosh,
The
yeah, that
30-yard
run.
run where he spins, goes down the sideline, pushes through 3 guys and gets in the end zone. He solidified himself in that moment.
Yeah.
He's the greatest quarterback on the face of the earth
Right now. Yeah, I agree.
I agree. We'll see, because they're going to be playing the San
Francisco 49ers.
who seem to be their own team of destiny.
Yeah, let's go to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
49ers, Packers. This was, your classic NFL blue blood matchup. The Aaron Rodgers, the famed, starting to get old against young Jimmy G, yet what won it for the 49ers here was the defense and Raheem Mostert.
Yeah. I mean, Mostert, he set records posted.
29 carries,
Yeah.
222 yards.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns.
Good old-fashioned football.
Yeah, and that always covers up, Jimmy G if you have problems about him throwing the ball.
Yeah.
What was it? He threw the ball 8 times. You had Army and Navy.
Yeah,
throw the ball more.
77 yards.
Yeah.
It was efficient. It was 7 of 8, 7 of 9. That's an efficient game, but
Yeah.
when your running back can just keep the thing rolling on the ground,
Yeah.
why not?
It's the Ryan Tannehill theory.
It is.
If you don't need to throw it, just don't throw it. Throw for 70 yards and let your running back carry.
Yeah. And speaking of that, let's talk about Derrick Henry. Because Derrick Henry, what a playoffs for him, what a playoffs for the Titans. They had this little team of destiny feel when they beat the Patriots in the first round, but Derrick Henry was a man on a mission this season and going into the playoffs. Threw a touchdown pass against the Ravens. It's hard when you don't have all the red zone or whatever packages. You don't get to see a ton of every team other than the local teams. So I hadn't watched a ton of Derrick Henry until the playoffs. What he did,
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah, I mean, nobody watches AFC South football.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. You don't watch the Texans. You don't watch the Colts. Nobody's excited to see the Jaguars. And certainly nobody wants to see the Titans. But Derrick Henry was doing this a lot during the regular season. They went into Indianapolis and won there for the first time in franchise history. So they were doing things that kind of gave you the impression that this team was a little bit different. But what they did to the Patriots, what they did to get to the AFC Championship game is just something that I haven't seen in a while, where they would just get ahead. I think if this were a different year, they could have had one of the most surprising teams in NFL history.
Yeah.
Because the Chiefs, nobody was going to beat them this year. And that's a little bit revisionist history, but I do think the Chiefs are that good. They're a team of destiny. They have the talent on the edges. Patrick Mahomes just seems to do no wrong, and Andy Reid's defense is just working to perfection right now. But I think what the Titans did over the course of this year is something that I think should be remembered. I don't think they're going to be able to replicate that again next year. I think this was kind of a one-hit wonder, but it was definitely something interesting.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Think this team made it to the AFC Championship with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback.
Yeah.
They find a good quarterback, it's game over for everybody else in the league. Let's get to some teams who had some early exits, some surprise exits. First of all, the Patriots.
Yeah.
They lose in the wild card game.
To Derrick Henry.
To Derrick Henry. So you have the Patriots losing in the wild card game. You have Alabama not making the college football playoff. And we're still here.
That's the first time I think that's happened since '09.
Yeah.
So we went almost a full decade, or I guess you could count the full decade,
Yeah.
with these two teams, and then Tom Brady here on this final interception. I mean, that could be his last pass as a Patriot.
Yeah. So are we going to say that the dynasty's over?
No. I want to wait until, I think 20 years from now, I'll be asleep like we saw in the promo, and I'll be still thinking that when I wake up, it'll still be Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, running the AFC. I'm not ready to call.
I think as long as Bill Belichick is coaching, they'll still be okay. But I said that about the Spurs with Popovich.
That's true.
And granted, the Spurs are rebuilding, but,
I don't think this is the end.
I don't think it's the end either.
We'll see what Tom does, but if he comes back, I think he has 3-4 more years left.
The other early exit, you talked about it earlier, the Texans. Sorry to all you Houston people out there. Not a good winter break for Houston people. Texans were up 24-0. 24-0, and the Chiefs stormed back. They cut it to 3 before halftime. Second half was all Chiefs.
But they had the lead at halftime.
Oh, you're right. They had taken the lead. They had taken the lead at halftime, and it was over. I think it was 28-24 at halftime. You're right. First time in NFL postseason history that a team won by 20 after trailing by 20.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. And then also, I think it might be one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history.
It might be just because of how quick it was.
It was like you saw all of the things they were comparing it to.
Yeah.
It was comebacks of 31, 28, but those took all game to happen. This was a 24-point comeback, and they had the lead by halftime.
Yeah.
It was weird to even call it a comeback because you were watching it and it was just 28-24 at half.
Well, speaking of comebacks, when we come back, we're going to be talking about Texas football's victory over Utah in the Alamo Bowl, what Texas basketball needs to do to rebuild and try to salvage something this season. Plus, Daniel Shih is going to join us when we look at what's trending in the sports world. Stick around.
Longhorn Nation, we're back. And it's time to talk about Texas's
We're back.
bowl game. We
Not
are
Texas.
back. Texas might be back. That's what we're
They're
going to
better.
talk about.
They're better. Texas is better.
All right, Texas is not back. Texas is better.
There it is.
All right, the Alamo Bowl, if you missed it, happened December 31st, 2019. Last game of the decade. Texas came out
Close out the decade.
looking like the
Pretty
team that
darn good.
everybody had expected them to look like all year. Utah, they're one win away from being in the playoff. Couldn't get it done. Now,
A team that was at one point number 4 on my board.
They were
so
number
that says something.
That does say something. And they were a win against Oregon away from being
From a
the
college
number
football
4
playoff.
team.
Yeah.
You would have been correct. We're not going to mention Michigan up there, but Texas looking great. 38-10 win.
Dominated.
Dominated.
I mean, the ground game on offense, stopping the run on defense, being physical. It was what we saw in the Sugar Bowl last year, just turned up a notch. And last year, everybody was like, man, this Texas team's pretty physical. And this year, coming against another good, hard-nosed defensive team that can also put up points, Texas just stymied them.
Yeah, and then Texas also kind of had to come in, and I say this a little bit in jest, but there's a little truth in it, kind of save the Big 12.
Yeah, the only Big 12 team
The
with a
only
win.
bowl win of any of the 6 Big 12 teams that played. You could say Oklahoma, you give them a little leeway. They had to play LSU. They were in the playoff. It's a little bit tougher to win there, but
Yeah.
still. And then you see Baylor. It's not just very easy to go into the Sugar Bowl and beat Georgia.
No.
Because Texas did it, and everybody thinks it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Baylor proved that it is really not. So I think Texas, with a very impressive win here, without their defensive coordinator, and they're replacing both of those guys, and we'll talk about that when we look at next year. But I think Utah was a very, very good team. Hundley, a quarterback that can do a lot of damage, very experienced. Utah's going to have to replace 9 seniors next year, 6 on the defense. So this was not a team that wasn't playing for anything. These were guys playing probably their last game of football, or if they're going to the NFL, playing their last game as a Utah Ute. Had a lot to play for. I think, Texas had a month. Whenever Tom Herman gets a month to prepare for someone,
Just
it
a month.
feels like
You give him an
he can
off
play-
season.
Yep.
Maryland happens.
Can't do it.
You give
Can't
him
do
a
it.
month.
You
He
give him a
can
month,
win any game.
He could beat anybody. He could beat the New England Patriots if you gave him a month, and he could just beat anybody.
Maybe a
Yeah.
little far in the
Maybe
Patriots.
a
Well,
little far,
I don't know.
but it feels like that.
If Ryan
It feels
Tannehill
like
could beat
that.
the Patriots, anybody
Yeah,
could beat the
you
Patriots.
give him a month, you give him 3 months, he overthinks it. I don't know what it is.
But yeah, you bring up the experience. I mean, this is a team who I brought it up last semester when I thought that Utah deserved to be in the college football playoff before they lost to Oregon. Before the Pac-12 championship game, their average margin in games was 24 points. They weren't barely winning games. They were dominating. And for Texas to go in and, Sam Ehlinger, efficient. He only had 200 passing yards, but that was on 12 attempts. He had 70 rushing yards. Keontae Ingram, 108 yards, had a pretty sweet hurdle. Roschon Johnson, Ingram averaged 8.3 yards per run. Roschon Johnson, 8.2. Sam Ehlinger, 6.6.
yeah. The team
Domination,
yeah.
and that starts with the O-line up front. Now, I don't know where that was after the LSU game this year, but they found it.
Yeah, it was lacking a lot in, conference play when you needed it most. That's why you're sitting there at 7-5 in the Alamo Bowl. You're lucky to be in the Alamo Bowl, for that matter. But there was nothing more that Texas could have done that would make me excited for next year.
Yeah.
They did everything they could. They checked all the boxes. They came out, played hard-nosed football, rushed for 231 yards, held Utah to really 3 points. It was 10, but that was a garbage time touchdown. It doesn't count. Doesn't count. But I would say I'm very excited for next year.
Yeah, we talked about the offense. The defense, the guy who impressed me the most on defense, defensive MVP, Joseph Osai, had himself a game, 6 solo tackles, 9 total, 3 sacks, 6 of his tackles were for loss. Shows you what can happen, and you don't want to, I want to be careful because I liked Todd Orlando, and I think he had reasons for his 3-man front, but he goes to the 4-man front.
Yeah.
Osai's able to play his natural position, and he dominated. And the rest of the defense dominated. I mean, to me, it almost comes down to the fact that this team just got confidence. They got healthy. They said, we know we can win this game. They came out fast, and they won the game.
Yeah.
The games where they lost, they struggled early on. They lost confidence. And even when they came back, they just didn't have enough. But when they came out with confidence, they established the physicality up front in the trenches, and they won, and they dominated from start to finish.
Yeah, a player you mentioned, Joseph Osai, a player I want to mention on the offensive end, Roshan Johnson.
Yep.
Because, he hasn't really seemed as though he wants to step full-time into the running back role. I think he should. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how that develops.
Yeah.
Because he could very easily be Texas's number 1, number 2 option at running back. But it seems that he wants to play quarterback, which I don't blame him, but I think the team would be better served with him at running back.
Yeah, and let's talk about next year because Texas losing a couple guys, but definitely not as bad as it's been in the past. The biggest losses at receiver with Devin Duvernay and Colin Johnson graduating, but we'll talk in a second about all the guys to replace them. You lose Zach Shackelford, but to you, Robert, who would you say is the biggest loss? And then what would you say you're most looking forward to next season?
Well, I'd say for sure it's Colin Johnson. I mean, not only just the fact that he was their leading receiver for so long, I think mostly it was the heart and soul of Texas.
Yeah.
A guy that you could always count on no matter what. Things got tough. You had those stretches of time, especially this year, where it didn't seem like they could pull out a win, they could do anything. But I think that the resolve that he showed during the season, I think it's going to carry forward. I think that's definitely their biggest loss for sure. What I'm looking forward to next year, though, is Chris Ash. I mean, coming in, he proved himself at Ohio State. You look at his record, 8-32, and you're like, okay. But a lot of coordinators just can't transfer very well. It's tough to win. I'm sounding like Tom Herman. Winning is hard.
And he's going to that 4-man front, which
especially
at least seemed to work really well in the bowl.
Yeah, it really did. I'm excited for that because that puts a little bit more pressure on your corners. But Texas, if you're going to have a team that can run that, you have to have the personnel. Texas, for sure, has the talent in that personnel. It's all about developing that. But he did that at Ohio State, and they looked great under Urban Meyer. I think that's what I'm most excited for because they're not returning just 3 guys like last year, which everybody tried to say that didn't matter because, guys were still getting reps on second team. But it matters when you're replacing 8 starters. Yeah. Now they get to bring more guys back. Chris Ash is there. I mean, you have Mike Yurkic coming in.
Yeah.
But honestly, the defense is what I'm excited for.
Yeah, and when you look at the big losses, obviously Duvernay and Johnson at receiver, you lose Brandon Jones in the secondary. But the receiver position and the secondary position, that is where Texas is so rife with talent. Those are probably the 2 spots where they can afford to lose guys the most. And I think Brandon Jones might be, for me, the biggest loss as far as just leadership. But Caden Stearns, who had a great bowl game, a lot of people, he kind of flew under the radar because of Osai, but Caden Stearns probably the healthiest he's been all season, and he sure looked at it. He had 8 tackles, 6 solo. B.J. Foster, Chris Adamora, who got a lot of good reps this season. So that safety position is going to be good. I believe that Ash is going to go with a 4-2-5. So you'll still have the 5 secondary. You'll have some nickel, rover kind of looks. But offensively, Jake Smith, if he can get some confidence. Marcus Washington, Avante Woodard, some young guys. Plus, you're bringing in Bijan Robinson, which is probably going to let Jordan Whittington jump to the slot. So receivers, secondary, even though they have some losses, they're looking pretty good.
All right. And, there's a lot to look forward to. Let's cut to Texas basketball.
Where there's not a lot to look forward to.
There's not a lot to look forward to. I've been an adamant supporter of Shaka Smart. I said, give him some time. Give him some time. He'll figure it out. Give him 1 more year. Well, that year, for me, has run out because losing to West Virginia, 38-point loss.
38 points.
I would call that the equivalent of losing to Kansas in football. Because it's one of those things that's so demoralizing. You look at this play right here.
This play sums up the season.
It really does, and kind of Shaka Smart's tenure. In terms of the effort, I think Shaka's lost the team. I love Shaka. He has a great.
Shaka he's a great guy.
Yeah, great guy. Not the best coach for Texas right now. I don't know what there is to say anymore about Texas men's basketball because they've been disappointing time and time again, and I don't see a way out of this kind of rut, especially when you have teams like Texas Tech. You have Baylor looking sharp. They're recruiting in-state, getting all of the guys. There's no reason for any recruit to go to Texas. You can win in Lubbock. You can win in Waco. And I don't know how they're going to solve this.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be careful here because you brought up Shaka. He's a great guy. I truly believe he cares for the players.
Mm-hmm.
He wants them to succeed on and off the court, and there's not a lot of coaches like that. But at the end of the day, when you're paying the guy $3-5 million, you got to win some games.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't been able to do that. And I think the Longhorn fan base has done a decent job of giving him some time. And I had said going into this year, he's got to make the tournament. He's got to win some games. What I'm seeing right now, that's not going to happen. I don't know if this team is going to make the NIT.
Yeah.
You know?
You can get the CBI. No.
As much as it pains me to say it, I think Shaka has to be fired.
Yeah. I think so, especially at the end of the year. I don't know if he's going to make it to the end of the year. Probably. I don't know. But I think it's just a matter of when he goes, not if.
Yeah, we'll see. When we come back, quick Super Bowl preview before Daniel Shih joins us. We're talking fights in college basketball, the Pro Bowl this weekend, and more. Stick around. Welcome in to the 1-0 Sports Locker Room. Just Robert and I here today. We're going to give a short Super Bowl preview. We'll have a lot more next week. But for now, San Francisco 49ers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Robert, what are you seeing on tape early on that you think could come and make a difference in the game?
Yeah, so next week we got all the prop bets we're coming with. But initial thoughts looking at these two teams. This is going to be a great matchup, by the way. I think this game's going to come down to Jimmy G. I think that, the run game, you see Mostert, he can go off at any given time. They have the push. But you look at Kansas City, they're explosive. Nothing needs to be said about that with Patrick Mahomes. They're going to put up points. This game is going to come down to can Jimmy G make those key throws at the key moments, because there's just going to be 3rd and 7s, there's going to be 3rd and 5s where he's just going to have to execute. They're not going to be able to run the ball. He's going to have to make those throws. I think if he can at least just come through with like a 2 out of 3 percentage on those 15 plays that happen in football, I think they have a great chance to win. I really think that they match up better with the Chiefs in terms of offense on defense than a lot of people would think. I think they can run the ball very effectively, but I think the first thing that I'm seeing is, can Jimmy G make those throws that are becoming of a Super Bowl champ?
For me, when I look at this game, what I love is the storyline of old smash mouth football against the new era. And ironically, it's Andy Reid, it's the veteran coach with the new age throw the ball football versus Kyle Shanahan, the young coach, who's going with the old fashioned. And what that means is it's going to come down to who establishes the trenches.
Yeah.
If the 49ers where maybe they would have liked to be, but it's definitely improved. If they can start slowing down that run and forcing Jimmy G to throw, I think the Chiefs at least have a chance to make this game close and have a chance to win. But again, I think you brought it up. I think it's going to be the battle of the quarterbacks.
Yeah. And I think this game is really the Chiefs to lose. I don't see a scenario where the 49ers run away with this one. I think if the 49ers are going to win this, it's going to be one of the more boring Super Bowls in recent memory, where they're kind of winding the clock down. They get an early lead. They're up 10-0. Then you see them just kind of wind the clock with Mostert. Jimmy G's making some good throws. They're moving the ball quickly down the field, and they're trying to neutralize Patrick Mahomes. I think that's the only way you win this game. If you let the Chiefs have several drives in a row and you're trying to go back and forth, I think Mahomes is just going to pick them apart. But this is also one of those games I don't think the Chiefs are going to go off as much as, you see them do in the regular season. It's just harder to do that in the Super Bowl. There's more nerves. The teams are playing better. But honestly, I'm very excited to see how well Patrick Mahomes is going to respond to the pressure. I mean, you play Texas Tech football. You're playing in front of 50,000 fans until the third quarter when they all leave. And then from now, 2 years later, 3 years later, you're playing in the biggest game there is. I think it's going to be incredible. But he hasn't shown, if he's nervous, he hasn't shown it at all.
I'm going to disagree with your take that the 49ers, there's no way they run away with it. The Chiefs have been two different teams this year. And depending on which one shows up, if the worst Chief team shows up, the 49ers come out, like I said, they establish the trenches, they get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, I think they could run away with this game.
Yeah. Well, agree to disagree on that one, Thomas. But we'll get all those prop bets next week.
All those prop bets and a lot more prediction. We'll break down the tape a little bit more. When we come back, though, Daniel Shih is joining us. We're talking about the Hall of Fame. We're talking about a massive fight, maybe one of the biggest fights in college basketball in the last, maybe ever.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest basketball fight since Malice at the Palace.
It's the biggest chair incident since Bob Knight.
Biggest chair incident since Bob Knight, and a lot more. So stick around.
And then somebody like 911 call me later, like, hey, is this?
Welcome in to the One and Only Sports Show. Now joining us, Daniel Shih.
How's it going, guys?
We're going to get to a new topic called What's Trending?
What is trending?
What's
Thomas?
trending? Well, first of all, Kansas State, Kansas, the brawl of the century, maybe you could call it. Maybe the biggest brawl in basketball since Malice at the Palace. Robert, you brought it up, maybe the biggest chair incident since Bob Knight.
Yeah.
An unreal scene in Kansas. It was right at the end of the game.
Right.
Kansas was up by 20, 30 points. They were up big. 21 points.
That's always how these things start.
Always how they start. They're dribbling out the ball. You can see here.
Oh,
and
that's
Sylvia
a vicious
D'Souza
block.
goes the ball.
That's a vicious block.
But look, if you're gonna steal the ball and go to layup,
that's true.
Why can't you?
I mean, that's an awesome block. And then you see the chair here. Some hero.
We're gonna zoom in on the
knocks
chair.
Out because if somebody had not taken that
Watch
chair
this. He
out,
picks up the chair and someone knocks it
dude,
away.
That would have been
D'Souza, Sylvia D'Souza. This guy right here who's about to throw the punch, who also picked up the chair. He was suspended 12 games. Another player on Kansas plus 2 other players on Kansas State were given suspensions. Daniel, reaction?
I'm not a math guy. I didn't know they put an octagon in a rectangle like that on the side. And I did not know UFC allows 12 people to fight at the same time. I didn't know that they allowed.
It's WWE.
Yeah,
Oh,
WWE.
okay. Yeah, my
Tables,
bad.
ladders, and
so
chairs.
I guess it's easier to have a square inside a rectangle. What do you call it? The ring inside.
The ring.
The
There
ring,
it is.
yeah.
There it is.
But honestly, I don't mind stealing the ball. Like if you're gonna be careless with the ball, I don't mind the guy blocking it. If you're gonna lay up and give the ball to like a 6-7 foot guy to block it, fine. Just don't step. I mean, like you're up by 22.
Right.
But I think honestly the funniest thing is that they had to finish the game. Like the game had 0.1 seconds left.
That's
So they
that's
had to-
That is the best
That's one
part
of the most egregious, like, put the time back on the clocks
Yeah.
of all time. Like, can we just leave?
Well,
like,
no,
we should be done.
apparently
Like, come
it's-
on.
Apparently, it's a new rule in
Yeah.
NCAA basketball just for the gambling stuff.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
so
That-
like,
no,
if,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's
so like,
true.
if you
Yeah.
had like minus 22 and then like the game was about to be over, they got blocked, and then now like you have 0.1 seconds left, they had to shoot 2 free throws.
Yeah.
Oh, for the
because-
technical,
For
right?
the technicals.
Oh, dude.
So like, I mean, I don't know what the spread
I don't know
was,
what it
but that
was,
hilarious.
but-
You know what I took out of that, though, was why is it called a boxing ring when it's a square?
Yeah. No.
Whoa.
I don't know. But, like, when you said ring, I was like, wait, but, okay, we're on shapes now. Anyway.
We've gone to shapes.
All right.
Next up, the Pro Bowl. Skills challenges. They try to make these fun. I was looking up all the skills challenges last night.
Grade field day, company retreat
Yep.
kind of deal.
Well, it is kind of a NFL.
It is a company
It
retreat.
is. That's fair.
But this is my favorite time of year.
Yeah,
whenever-
here you could you could just see it's
when people are saying like, how do we improve the Pro Bowl? Like this, it's always around this time of year. How do we improve like the NBA All-Star game? I don't know if you can. I mean, it's just a Pro Bowl. I mean, you just see some guys. They're not trying to get hurt. They're doing. Oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of like running through the logo right there. That was kind of nice. You know, I'm with it. I'm with it now. I didn't see
it's
that.
nice for like a Twitter clip, but you're not going to turn on TV,
Oh,
stop
definitely.
things in your day to go watch a bunch of linemen play dodgeball.
You're telling me you don't bet thousands of dollars on the Pro Bowl? That's absurd.
But you know what I will say, also this weekend, is the NHL hockey game, the NHL All-Star game.
Yeah.
And what they do, we'll do predictions for this in a second. They have a 3-on-3 tournament. They break it up by the 4 divisions, and they play little semifinals and then finals, 3-on-3.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a way that the NFL could do that better, maybe some 7-on-7 or something like that. But people want to watch different stuff, and they want to see people compete, but you're not going to compete if there's fear of injury. So if you have to get creative with it, and I think the NHL has done a great job. I will not watch the Pro Bowl this weekend. I will be watching the NHL All-Star game.
You know what they should really do? They should make them play the real football, 11-on-11. Put a soccer ball in the middle, what is called the football, and let them kick at it.
With pads?
Wait, so how does that?
Whatever you like.
Bubble
Also
soccer.
Play real
with
Bubble
football?
soccer.
Play
Okay.
football.
Bubble soccer. That way they won't get hurt. They can still. Can you imagine? I mean, Derrick Henry would send a cornerback flying in a bubble, but it's fine. He's in a bubble.
Yeah. And honestly, other than that, Mass will just not have to. No, but it's honestly. It's honestly
have
the only thing about the NFL that 80% of the country agrees on, which is it's terrible.
Yeah.
So why would you have that's like saying, oh,
It brings
this
Daniel.
tastes
No.
tastes
It brings the
terrible.
country together.
Revenue.
Do you hear what you're saying? 80% of the country agrees.
It agrees to not
This
have
is
it.
bringing our throwaway
Agree.
political
Yeah.
divides.
Yeah,
We
that-
can all
this is what
come
unites.
together
This is what unites
as
us,
America.
is that the Pro Bowl is terrible. You go
Yeah.
overboard. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Next up, MLB Hall of Fame, the new class was announced. Daniel, this is one of the main reasons here because you're our baseball, really the only guy here who really.
This is your area of
This is
expertise.
your strong suit. So Derek Jeter,
Right.
1 vote shy of unanimously entering the Hall of Fame. Daniel, what more could this guy have done to get that vote?
Not be above average at playing shortstop, I guess.
Okay, don't
The
give
flip.
me.
But-
You're a
and-
Yankees
and
fan.
also-
Fight for your guy.
And also, it's funny because I'm saying it while.
Comes out of nowhere, grabs the ball with a little shovel pass.
Excellent job.
Yeah, that was
You got to
Whoever he
have
is.
Reed Tupac. for him.
Honestly, the
Read two packs.
I would the one argument I made that I said the one reason that Jeter might not be the unanimous Hall of Famer like Rivera is that Rivera is the best player in the history of baseball at his job, and the second best, Trevor Hoffman, is far from him at his job. But you look at Derek Jeter's not in the discussion of the best shortstop in the history of baseball because there's
Yeah, but
so
the,
many.
the Hall of
But
Fame
like
doesn't
Hall
say
of
you have to
Fame.
be the best.
No,
the
no,
Hall
no,
of Fame
no.
just says you have to be
but
good.
I'm telling you why Rivera.
Okay.
If you have to compare it to
Okay.
Rivera, who is the only unanimous Hall of Famer as we have today,
Yeah.
and you have to compare Derek Jeter to Rivera. Now also Jeter, Rivera throughout his closer career has been the best closer
Right.
in baseball. Jeter in his first half of the career before A-Rod joined the Yankees, he was. In terms of ability, there was always a discussion whether A-Rod is better than Jeter, and the fact that Jeter was in New York is why he is more popular, he's better, etc. But and that is, I think, one of the reasons why Jeter was never the best shortstop. There's always a debate on whether he's the best shortstop of that year, whenever he was playing. And so, for that reason, one person might look at it and go like, he's at the first ballot Hall of Famer in his or her eyes. But again, it is. I mean, obviously, I put him on my ballot. I'm a Yankee fan.
That's
but
what I mean. It's like
It's-
it's an
it's
all-time
classic-
snub for somebody
it's
out there.
classic baseball
that,
writers.
Somebody else out there that writes about baseball that knows about baseball, that saw Derek Jeter play baseball, didn't put him in the Hall of Fame on their first ballot. That's absurd.
Baseball, because baseball writers are the kind of people who would say, yeah, he belongs on the ballot, but because I don't want him to be unanimous, I'm not going to vote for him.
I thought it might have just been some guy accidentally turned in a blank one.
We were talking about it the other day.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
we were like, what if there was like a group chat of like 15 of them?
Yeah,
and they were
yeah.
like, all right, so
One
like
of
a
us
couple
has
of
to do
us
it,
are going to
yeah.
like not vote for him, yeah? And then he's like, oh, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they left him holding the bag.
And obviously,
Do we know who it is?
no. Nobody knew who didn't vote for Ken Griffey Jr. Nobody would know.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to cancel this guy.
Yeah, I think we need to find
I
that.
think that is
We
the
need to,
reason
like,
why it's.
We got to
Figure it
do some
out.
good journalists.
Right.
If you're
Yeah.
a good journalist out there, look into this. Find
Yeah.
us this guy so we can cancel
If
him.
they found the Texas AC, we can definitely find out who didn't vote for Derek Jeter.
All right. Lastly, Antonio Brown. Oh,
I think
turned
that's
himself
right.
in.
I think that's the whole
I
thing
think we
right
could
there.
just
Oh,
about stop
yeah.
there. He had a warrant out for his arrest for assault and battery, maybe more.
This one was not on Instagram Live. I
Not
don't
on
think.
Instagram Live. Turned himself into the police. It was announced this morning he'd be granted bail. Will go through drug testing and mental health evaluation. I think it's the best thing for him because he needs mental health evaluation. And this is somewhere where I feel like the whole sporting world can all agree
Yeah.
this guy needs help.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then mental health needs to be taken a little more seriously in sports. I
And
think a lot of
it's
people
great
should-
that people like Kevin
Yeah.
Love and some other people are starting to vocalize that.
Yeah, and I think most people should care about their mental health just as much as their physical health. And Antonio Brown, been going through some tough times, hasn't really figured it out. It's been a rough year for him, and unfortunately, everybody's seen it on the internet. It's not like the same as like back in the day when you could just kind of have it, just in the privacy of
Well,
your
it doesn't
own
help
home,
that he
especially
tweets
when you're
about it,
famous.
too.
Exactly. He does himself absolutely no favors putting it out there on Instagram Live and Twitter. So hopefully he can turn it around.
I'll be interested to see down the road, and even if they do this when they do the mental health evaluation, how much of you look at guys like this. You look at what we talk about with Odell when they start acting erratically. How much of this is from CTE, from all the head trauma, where you see it with guys later on in life when they start going crazy, they start developing these problems, and Antonio Brown's taken some hits, so certainly could be the case. Next thing that we're going to get to, this is another new segment. Instead of doing our board, we're going to do the top 3 things of the week. Each week will be a different thing, and we'll rank them. This week, in honor of Zion Williamson playing his first game in the NBA, where ESPN literally had a camera on him.
The Zion Cam.
The Zion cam.
So we're going to count down the
The
3
top
best Zion
3 moments.
All right, number 3
of the week. Yeah.
Number 3, I'll start it off. Zion comes onto the court.
Yep, he
for
did
the
it.
First.
Yeah,
You
he's on
see,
the
you
court.
see those high fives? That's peak form right there. Strolling in.
Number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
Number 2. He went to the bike.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
that's classic.
He went to the bike. Welcome back into the Want to Know Sports Show for the last time. Today, real quick, just apology, our audio has been a little off, but thank you for sticking through the static. We'll have that fixed by next week. Robert?
Still trying to go 1-0.
Still trying to
Despite the
go
audio problems.
1-0.
Well, we're back.
We're
You
back.
destroyed me last semester.
Resetting the record.
We're resetting.
Record book.
I'm
Back
zero,
to
we're 0-0.
0-0. Again, we're just trying to go 1-0
All
every
right.
pick.
Number 1, I'm back on it. Pro Bowl, NFC versus AFC. Who do you got?
It's got to be the AFC for me. There's so many Ravens players. I think the fact that the Ravens aren't in the Super Bowl, you have Lamar Jackson, you have all their defensive players. I think you got to go with the AFC.
I'm with you. I've never picked the NFC in a Pro Bowl in my life, and I probably never will. I think the AFC, has a lot more firepower. This is like the Ravens' bowl game for them after being so disappointing in the playoffs. So I was really excited to see them against Mahomes, but I guess we'll never get that matchup like Kobe versus LeBron in the finals. I'm going to go AFC.
All right. Next up, the NHL All-Star Game. As we mentioned earlier, I'm going to pick it. Robert, who you got?
All right, this one's a little tough.
If you're a betting person, Pacific underdogs ? In this.
Yeah, that is my favorite ocean.
My favorite ocean too.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Let's go to the Clippers and the Miami Heat. Clippers. I was going to say they're 3.5-point favorites. I forgot that we're picking it straight up. Straight up. Okay. Who do you have?
I got the Heat. I like what the Heat are doing this season. I know Kawhi's coming back, and I know the Clippers are trying to get back in win column, but I really like the Heat here.
Yeah, the Heat going for 3 in a row, but I mean the Clippers snapping a 4-game win streak with that loss. Kawhi didn't play. He's back. They need to step up defensively. Opponents averaging 109.4 points per game. I think they will. I got the Clippers in this one.
Saturday night on ABC, Showtime Lakers against the Philadelphia 76ers. Pretty good matchup.
Yeah, I like the 76ers a lot, but I'm going with LeBron in prime time. I think that they're going to get it done. I've loved the LeBron Lakers. I don't know how it's working, but it is so far, and we'll see how they. Who wins that? West Virginia taking on. I like the Cyclones here. I think they've been one of
They're playing number 3 Kansas.
Yeah, for sure.